Faith and Science. A letter to Rabbi Moshe Seidel, Professor of Bible Studies at the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary and one of Rav Kook's closest students, May the 6th, 1908. I feel an inner obligation to explain to your pure soul how to deal with the many new scientific opinions that contradict the literal words of the Torah. My opinion is that any person who has an honest mind must understand that even though these new scientific truths are not absolutely proven, nevertheless, we certainly do not have any obligation to deny and reject them. Indeed, it is definitely not one of the goals of the Torah to simply tell facts and historical episodes. Instead, the main goal is the philosophical principles, the inner spiritual meaning. And thus, whenever there is an area in the Torah that contradicts science, we must always search for the deeper meaning of the text in order to overcome the problem. This principle of interpretation was already taught in the words of the sages, or Rishonim, and specifically in the Rambam's Guide for the Perplexed. In today's age, we must be willing to expand and apply their words even further. It does not matter whether there once existed a paradise where mankind enjoyed overflowing physical and spiritual pleasures, or whether existence evolved from the lowest to the highest and is still evolving until this day. The only thing that we must know for certain is that it is possible for a person to rise to the highest heights. And in spite of all this, if one becomes corrupted, it is possible to lose everything. In fact, one is able to do damage to both oneself as well as several generations to follow. This is the main lesson that we learn from the existence of man in the Garden of Eden, his sin and his being expelled. This is a very important principle when it comes to conflicting opinions. When there is an opinion that contradicts something in the Torah, to begin with, we must not immediately refute it. Rather, we must build the castle of the Torah on top of this opinion. And by doing this, we are able to rise by way of the opposing opinion. And because of this, further understanding is revealed. And then, since we have removed the pressure, we will also be able to disagree with the opinion in perfect faith, if necessary. Evolution fits the teachings of Kabbalah. The theory of evolution that is currently spreading and conquering the world fits with the Kabbalistic understanding of the world, much more than any other scientific or philosophical theory. The theory of evolution, which believes in a pathway of constant development, creates an essentially optimistic understanding of the world. Indeed, how can a person despair when one sees that everything is evolving and ascending? In fact, when we penetrate into the depths of the theory of evolution, we discover an element of the divine, shining in complete clarity. That is specifically the actualized aspect of the divine that is causing the potential aspect of the divine to become materialized. Evolution expresses its light on all the ways of the divine. All of existence is evolving and ascending. And just as this is apparent in the parts of existence, it is in fact true of the whole as well. Eventually, it will evolve toward the greatest good, where no detail will be left out and no spark will be lost. Kabbalistic solution. Concerning the age of the world according to modern geological calculations. According to all Kabbalistic opinions, there existed many time periods before what we mark as the beginning of the world. Even according to the Midrash, God built many worlds and destroyed many worlds. Bereshit Rabbah 70 verse 3. and according to the Zohar, there were many species of people besides Adam, who is written about in the Torah. Zohar Vayikra, page 10. Therefore, those opinions teach us that there did indeed exist many time periods before the one we began dating, the period of modern humanity being just one of them. Scientific theories are always evolving. There is never a contradiction between any part of the Torah and science. Nevertheless, a theory is not necessarily a fact, even if it is well accepted. Scientific theories are like unripe fruit that constantly evolves. All of the most modern theories will one day be laughed at, and all the most sophisticated wisdom of our generation will be understood as immature thoughts. Only the Word of God will last forever. Though the mountains will fall and the hills will collapse, yet my unfailing love for you will not fall. Nor will my covenant of peace collapse, says God, who has compassion for you. Yeshayahu 54, verse 10. Creation doesn't preclude natural process. The essence of what we are saying is that everything is God's creation, and the steps of the process, be they many or only a few, are all actions of God. Now, sometimes the Torah will describe in detail the different steps of the process, and sometimes the Torah will simply skip the steps and say, God created or God acted. This is similar to how the Torah says, and King Solomon created. Here we do not need to be told that King Solomon commanded the officers, and the officers commanded those lower officers, and the architects the artists, and the artists the builders. In this example, it is obvious what we mean, and also the details are not of essential importance. In fact, even if we were to investigate over thousands of years all the intricacies of the process, although this world would simply give us wisdom and knowledge of the greatness of the divine, nevertheless, these descriptions would still be limited and unable to fully explain what occurred. Scientific knowledge reveals itself slowly. In truth, there is a reason that every idea and thought comes to the world at a specific time period. Nothing is random and unintended. For example, we can comprehend that if people came to know thousands of years too early that the earth is constantly revolving, they might have been afraid to stand up, lest they fall off the planet. All the more so would they have feared to build tall buildings. This knowledge would have accordingly impeded normal development. The calculations of gravity would not have comforted them, since their own experience showed them much more tangibly that anything standing atop a moving object is in danger of toppling off. Only after many years of maturing the mind was humanity in a healthy enough mindset to uncover the wisdom of the earth's movement for the good of all people. Evolution should bring knowledge of God. The Rambam already wrote that the stories of creation told in the Torah should not be understood literally. Rather, they have a deeper lesson to teach. In fact, the Rambam said that if he had an absolute proof of the eternity of the world, then he would interpret the verses of creation in the same metaphorical way that he explained verses with human descriptions of God. Now, it is clear and obvious that the modern theory of evolution does not contradict the main foundations of the Torah at all, not even the verses describing the creation of the world. A person may, however, try to argue that if, for example, just the material of the planet took tens of thousands of years to form, then we don't see any godly involvement. Why should creation need to take so much time? Why was it not instant? To these questions, we can reply that the world evolving step by step does not at all keep us from a recognition of God. It, in fact, brings the soul close to God in deep love and upliftment. When we look at the many forces of the world, and we see how everything is organized in perfect order, with great wisdom, kindness, and compassion, we recognize the sustaining force of all, which is the living God. And what is the difference between the evolution of the stars and constellations over tens of thousands of years, and the evolution of the fetus in the womb of a mother over many months? Concerning the baby, we still recognize that your creations are incredible. My soul knows this very well. When I was made in a secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. Everything was written in your book. Tehillim 139, verses 14 to 16. All the more so should we be amazed if we examine the order of evolution from the simplest organisms up to the intelligence, righteousness, honesty, and power of a human being.